There's no point standing around. We'll only be showered by more boulders. Ready your horses on the double!
Be honest. Are all of us riding to our deaths?
Yes, we are.
And since we're dying anyway, you're saying that it's better if we at least die fighting?
I am.
But wait, if we'll die anyway, then who cares what we do? We could just disobey your orders, and it wouldn't mean a thing, would it?
Yes, you're precisely right. Everything that you thought had meaning, every hope, dream, or moment of happiness, none of it matters as you lie bleeding out on the battlefield. None of it changes what a speeding rock does to a body. We all die. Does that mean our lives are meaningless? Does that mean that there was no point in our being born? Would you say that of our slain comrades? What about their lives? Were they meaningless? They were not! Their memory serves as an example to us all! The courageous fallen, the anguished fallen, their lives have meaning because we, the living, refuse to forget them! And as we ride to certain death, we trust our successors to do the same for us! Because my soldiers do not buckle or yield when faced with the cruelty of this world! My soldiers push forward! My soldiers scream out! My soldiers rage!
What? It's not my fault. No. It is. I'm the one to blame.
It took a lot of blood for you to learn that lesson. Do me a favor. Don't just sit there wallowing in your own guilt. That's not going to change anything, either. I've got a problem with that, you know. You're complacent. You never change or adapt. That's why you're at fault. Do you think you could blame it on something else? Coincidence? Tragedy? Fate? Sorry, but destiny doesn't exist in this world. It's all just one person's circumstances colliding with another's. And who creates those circumstances? Would you care to guess? It's you, Kaneki. All the detriment in this world stems from a lack of individual ability. Jason sure nailed that one. If you were smart to the ways of the world, you and I may never have come together like this. All because you were such a fool. Why are you crying? This is your doing. You said you'd rather feel pain yourself than inflict it on others. You choose to be neutral. But you know what happens when you play both sides? In the end, everybody loses. You saw what happened with your mother.
Shut up. Mom, I wish that you were still here with me. I hate being all alone. I miss you so much it hurts. Why couldn't you just live for me? You had a choice. Why didn't you choose me?
Even if it meant forsaking your aunt?
Yes, if she'd be here now!
Even if it meant hurting her?
If it had to be done!
Even if it meant killing her?
Whatever it takes!
Good boy. You've got it, Kaneki. You've learned the lesson your mother couldn't seem to grasp. That sometimes to protect one thing, you have to have the resolve to let go of another. Her actions didn't make her kind, they made her weak. She didn't have the resolve, the strength to turn her back and focus on what's important. You're not weak like she was. You have the power to break this chain of grief.
I won't let that happen. Anyone who tries to take them from me will get no mercy.
And what if your decision ends up being the wrong one in the end?
That won't happen, because I'm not wrong. What's wrong is this messed up world.
Everyone, at attention! A message from the battalion commander.
Soldiers, we've moved from an armistice to a sortie. As you know, command does whatever it wants. And us, we have no choice but to follow orders. We'll crush our foes until no one's left to oppose the Empire. Unfortunately, now our enemy is the entire world. There's no avoiding this cruel war, and no end to how long we must fight to extinguish all threats to the fatherland. And so, men, that's why I want to stand before you and say this one more time. If there truly is a God looking down on us from above, then he is a stern, solemn, infinitely good being. Being we don't deserve, who's far too great for us. A God filled with wrath, who keeps forcing us to risk our lives on the battlefield. Because if he's in control, then this is all his fault, right? And so, men, I declare before you all, so you've no doubts about where I stand. Oh, dearest Lord, I'm going to slice you into tiny chunks of flesh and feed you to the dogs! We don't need a god! The battlefield's no place for that shit, so let's cut God out and take over his glorious work ourselves! We soldiers are going to take his place! We're going to put that arrogant asshole out of a job! Do you understand me, men?
Yes, ma'am!
If you'd allow me to speak freely, gentlemen, Major is more than a monster in the form of a little girl. He is a devil.
Let's make peace with our maker. It's time for us to go to war.
I must admit it never ceases to amaze me how brainless you can be. You've lost your weapon. Why are you just standing there? Ichigo, what's the difference between a king and his horse? What the hell are you saying? And I'm not talking about obvious stuff, like one's an animal and one's a person, or one has 2 legs and one has 4. Form, ability, and power. That's what's puzzling. If their form, ability, and power are exactly the same, why is it that one becomes the king and leads them into battle, while the other becomes the horse and carries the king? What's the characteristic that distinguishes these 2 beings? There's only one answer. Instinct! In order for identical beings to get stronger and gain power, they need to develop a killer instinct. And that instinct is mostly forged in battle! They must develop an insatiable hunger to engage in battle. They must live to mercilessly crush, shred, and slice their enemies. This thirst for power is not an unnatural desire. In fact, it forms the very essence of our being. Deep within our body lies the honed instinct to dominate and slaughter our enemies. My friend, you don't have that. You use your brain to try and win a fight. You attempt to defeat your enemies with reason and logic. You don't tap into those pure base instincts that exist within your core, waiting to be released. And the simple matter is it doesn't work. You're weak. Ichigo! I won't put up with that. Am I clear? I don't know about Zangetsu, but I refuse to play horse to a king who's weaker than me. Someone whose uncertainty and hesitation will end up getting us both cut to pieces. If you aren't willing to assert your strength and retain the crown, then I'll destroy you. Which means I'll be king.
Why don't you be the monster? Why don't you be the monster?
It's not like I didn't want to be the monster. It's because the game itself just felt so incredibly one-sided and unfair. Heroes and Monsters is just a game of pretend based on kids' TV shows. Everyone's free to choose what role they play. But me, I was friendless, always with a dark cloud above. Everyone knew who the hero was going to be. I didn't stand a chance in hell. Naturally, there was no scenario where the monster would ever win. I was always the loser. The popular kid always beats up the little guy that no one likes. That's just the way the world works. Screw justice. And screw evil, too. I'm gonna be killed simply because that's what everyone else wants? It's not fair. I can't stand it. It pisses me off. All I want is to make them understand. I'm here to fight for underdogs everywhere. Good, evil. I reject them both.
Wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world. The longer you live, the more you will realize that the only things that truly exist in this reality are merely pain, suffering, and futility. Listen. Everywhere you look in this world, wherever there is light, there will always be shadows to be found as well. As long as there is a concept of victors, the vanquished will also exist. The selfish intent of wanting to preserve peace initiates wars, and hatred is born in order to protect love. There are nexuses, causal relationships that cannot be separated. I want to sever the fate of this world. A world of only victors. A world of only peace. A world of only love. I will create such a world. I am the ghost of the Uchiha. For truly this reality is a hell.